WoW actually has a lot of secret bosses, and for this list, secret boss will be a boss that is either hidden in an out-of-the-way location, or requires a special series of events to summon. And with this video, I'll be talking about bosses that fit a little bit of both of those categories. At number 10, we have the Lurker Below. Now this boss in the Serpent Shrine Caverns, despite being well known today, was actually a secret boss. The only way to access this boss was to fish in this random pool in the water. So one day, someone randomly decided to fish in this pool in the middle of nowhere, inside the raid, all of a sudden they now had a secret boss. And it wasn't too long before everyone else found out about it. But there's one thing they didn't know about the boss, was that if you killed the boss Hydros and cleared all the mobs in the platforms, it would steam the pools, killing all the fishes inside of it, making the phase where Lurker Below spins around with his jet stream thing super easy to do. Especially since Lurker Below was kind of buggy, as when he did the slow turn of his water gun, he would sometimes just spin around his little spot uncontrollably, knocking everyone off into the pool, who would then get killed by the fishes in the water. And since Blizzard was really slow to fix bugs back in the day, the best way to do this fight was to kill him after you'd steam the water. That way you wouldn't have to worry about the jet stream bug and could just jump into the water during his water gun phase, because the scalding water did a lot less damage than the fishes did. At number 9, we have Bane, both of them. Bane was a secret boss in the original Karazhan, that you had to complete a little quest chain before you could even summon him. Then in Legion, when they re-added Karazhan to the game as a mega dungeon, they added a way to fight Bane again, where you had to go around and kill a couple of the bosses within a certain amount of time, and then click crystals behind them. And if you were quick enough on clicking all of the crystals, Bane would spawn. And then when you killed Bane, he would drop one mount for one player. So if you had a group of 5 people, you just went in there 5 different times if you wanted everyone to get the mount. Now, Legion Bane wasn't really a secret boss, as many people knew about him, but the Burning Crusade version absolutely meets the criteria. Number 8, Engineer Omegaplugg. This secret boss was added in Legion in Nomergon. In order to access Omegaplugg, you have to click on a hidden button on the back of a pillar in the same room as the final boss of Nomergon, Thermalplug. There are a lot of red buttons in the room, but only one tiny button behind a pillar. Once pushed, the secret boss will spawn, who has max level stats. Despite the boss being in a low level dungeon, Omegaplugg is max level, and will wipe any low level group that tries to fight him normally. Same with max level characters too, as once you engage him, he spawns a whole bunch of bombs that basically one-shot you without defensive cooldowns, and there's too many of them to avoid. So what you have to do is click the other red buttons in the room in order to stop the bombs from spawning. If you're smart, you can pull the boss out of the room to reset, and then go in and click the buttons before he respawns, and while the buttons are still active. But if you're like me, you can also just run in and press one at a time and die, and just press the next one on your next attempt, until you eventually get all 6 of them. This boss isn't exactly soloable, and I don't have any friends, so I wasn't able to get a kill. But if you do have friends to bring along and manage to kill it, it does drop a toy item called the Vial of Green Goo for all of your efforts. And at number 7, we have High Inquisitor Fairbanks. Fairbanks was a secret boss in the Scarlet Monastery, hidden away in a secret room where you had to click on a little lever in order to open the secret door. Now, this boss fits the description of a secret boss to a T. It's not needed to complete the dungeon, he's hidden away in a hidden room, and the way to get into the room is to flip a hidden switch. This boss was removed with Mist of Pandaria, however, so when you enter the room nowadays, all you see is a dead body on the floor. I should probably also mention here, this list will include secret bosses which are no longer in the game. Number 6, Anzhi. Anzhi back in the Burning Crusade was a secret boss in the Sethic Halls, who could only be summoned by druids who had completed the last stage of their druid epic flight form quest, a quest chain which required 15 previous quests, with defeating Anzhi being the second to last quest of that chain. And after you completed the quest chain, you'd be given a key that allowed you to summon Anzhi whenever you did the place. Now, despite being a secret boss only summonable by one class who had to complete a very long quest chain, Anzhi was actually a very well-known secret boss, because he had a chance to drop a mount. and nothing motivates players in WoW more than the chance of obtaining a rare mount model, as Anzu's mount was one of a kind. Nowadays, Anzu is up by default all the time, so you can go in there and farm them out without needing a druid in your party, and it's no longer a secret boss. But it used to be, and it used to be a very popular secret boss. Number 5, Ireena. This is another one that used to be a secret boss, but nowadays you just fight her like normal whenever you want. In order to unlock her secret door to allow you to actually fight the boss, you had to combine 2 items you found separately inside the dungeon of Oldemon. One item was located in a chest in a room off to the side, and the other item just dropped from one of the first bosses in the dungeon. Then, once you had the 2 items, you just combined them together. Then you went to the miniature town in the middle of this room, and you placed the item called the Staff of Prehistoria into the little mechanism, which would then start a little event that would shoot a laser beam at the door and open it, where Ireena would bust out and you'd be able to fight her. Of course, nowadays, the Staff of Prehistoria is already in the little mechanism, so all you have to do is just click on it to fight her, instead of having to combine it and do it yourself. Number 4, Uruk Doomhowl. This boss, located in the lower Blackrock Spire, does show up on the boss list when you enter the dungeon nowadays, but it's listed as a bonus objective. This is how Blizzard keeps some of the secret bosses in the game, but just updated for the modern dungeon interface. Luckily, the way to summon Uruk is still the same as it was back in vanilla. All you have to do is kill the first boss in the instance, High Lord Omok, and loot his head. Then, as you run the dungeon, you'll notice various spears and spikes along the walls, and most of them are clickable. So all you have to do is just click on one of them to get it. Then you have to go to this location with a whole bunch of skulls on the floor, and then use the spear and the head from your inventory on the pile of skulls, which will start a little event. Once you kill all the ogres that come out for the event, Uruk will come in after. It's nice Blizzard left this little hidden boss in the game with the same summoning mechanics after how many of the other secret bosses were removed. Number 3, Gazza Ranka. This was a secret boss in old school Zul'Gurub that you could only fight through fishing, similar to the Lurker Below. But unlike the Lurker Below, you had to do a little bit more than just fish. What you had to do was go into the raid and find the abandoned camp, and click on this box which would give you a quest. The quest would then send you to Dustwallow Marsh to find Nat Pagal. After completing the quest, you could then buy an item from Nat Pagal, but in order to use the item, you had to fish up 5 specific fish that only spawned inside the dungeon. So you had to go back to Zul'Gurub, fish up 5 mud skunk fishes, then go back to the abandoned camp and combine the item you bought from Nat Pagal with the 5 fishes, and then fish from the camp. And then you'd be able to summon the Hydra. The Hydra dropped a whole bunch of fishing themed items, as well as the Tome of Polymorph Turtle. And since the Tome of Polymorph Turtle could be sold, some people would just farm the boss in order to sell them on the auction house. Also, probably not related, but there's a secret rare in Zuldazar that's located under a bridge behind a waterfall that's a green Hydra named Gazza Ranka. Considering most of the Hydras have Gaz in their name, it's most likely not directly related, but it is a green Hydra and its name is very similar, so maybe it could be an homage to Gazza Ranka. Number 2, Atal Ilarion. I really hope I'm pronouncing all these names correctly. This troll boss, located in the Sunken Temple, is a really good example of how a secret boss should be summoned. In order to bring this boss out, you have to go into one of the side rooms in the old Sunken Temple when it was still gigantic, and click the snake statues surrounding the room in a particular order. The order for the statues will be shown on screen, and if you click the statues in the right order, then the boss would spawn in the middle of the room. And then you and your group could just jump down and fight it for some extra loot. This secret boss was also required for 2 class quests, one for druids and another for horde paladins, which, funny enough, they added in the Burning Crusade, despite this being a vanilla boss. The class quests weren't anything important, just one of the many class quests they used to offer back then. But while looking into this boss, I couldn't really see how people would have ever found out the correct order of the statues. I assume there's a way people found out how to click them in the right order in game, but I also think they probably just clicked on them randomly until someone found it out and then just posted it online. With the revamp of a lot of the old dungeons in Cataclysm, they removed a lot of the extra rooms in the Sunken Temple, and with them removed, also the room in which this boss spawned, so it's no longer in the game. And number 1, Yor, the Void Hound of Shaffar. This is a secret boss in the Mana Tombs, only available after completing a 10-part quest chain that involves a rep grind. To start the quest chain, you have to get honored with a consortium, which can be accomplished pretty easily with a few quests or farming Mana Tombs. Then you have to complete the quest Seek Out a Mirror in the Netherstorm. Then after you complete that quest, you'll have to do 3 more quests in Netherstorm that involve getting Ethereum prison keys and freeing prisoners, and getting revered with the consortium, which will require another rep grind. Once those quests are complete, you'll be sent to Blade Edge Mountain and free another prisoner, who you must kill for an item you turn into the image of Commander Amir. He will then ask you for 5 Ethereum prison keys in order to trade to him for 1 Ethereum stasis chamber key, which you will then use to randomly open one of the prisons around Blade Edge Mountain to kill a prisoner for their ID card. But this is not a guaranteed drop, so you must go out and farm 5 more Ethereum prison keys to turn in for the Ethereum stasis chamber key every time you want to attempt this quest. And prison keys do not have a high drop chance, and there were not very many on the auction house to buy when I was doing this quest chain for footage for this video. Once you finally get lucky and get the Mark of the Nexus King from one of the prisoners, you'll then get sent on a quest to go to the Mana Tombs to free an NPC from prison. Then you must go back to Blade Edge Mountain to turn in the quest. The next part of the quest chain requires you to be exalted with the consortium, and since you can only clear out heroic Mana Tombs once per day, you can't just farm for the rep easily, so you have to get rep the old-fashioned way, and that's by questing, or endlessly killing ads on the final boss in the Mana Tombs, who spawns one once every 20 seconds for 20 rep each. Luckily, once you hit Exalted, all you have to do is talk to the quest giver in the Blade Edge Mountain, and that's it. He'll give you the key to Yor's prison. Then, in order to summon the boss, all you have to do is go back to the Mana Tombs, clear up to the last boss, and Yor is located in the prison right next to the final boss. And as long as you have the key, you can summon it. Now, the reason this one is number 1 is basically because it's the most time-consuming secret boss to spawn out of all the other ones on this list that's also still in the game. Funny enough, if you do manage to do the quest to spawn him, you can actually spawn him during Burning Crusade time-walking weeks to get a little bit of extra time-walking currency when doing the dungeon on its time-walking version. Alright, and that's it for the video. There's actually quite a lot of secret bosses in WoW, so I didn't include all of them. If you think there's a secret boss that I should have included on this list instead of some of the ones I chose, I'd love to hear about them down in the comments.